Hello. Welcome to the first in the series about the science of sound. The science of sound is based on the oldest living tradition that has discovered and used sound to its ultimate applications. And that's the Indian tradition, the Nada Yoga tradition, that is founded from Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, the Vedas, and various other scriptures that the yogis, masters, sages, and rishis of India have used to ascertain the very nature of creation. As they understood it, and as quantum physics understands it today, everything is vibrating. From matter to gases, to our bodies, to our thoughts, to our emotions, everything in creation is vibrating at different rates or different frequencies. Today, the science of psychoacoustics is really exploring and investigating and ascertaining what these frequencies are. So every organ in our body has a frequency. Every time we feel an emotion, a frequency arises. Every time we have a thought, a frequency arises. So the Indian Sabda Brahman, the universal sound, or Nada, the universal sound, that's held within everything that unites all living beings, beautifully dovetails with the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah also sees sound in very similar ways to how the Indian masters and scriptures have seen sound. So today, in this first of a series, I'm going to explore the correlations between the two and how practically that affects us today and how we all operate through sound vibration based on this extensive corpus, this body of wisdom that's practical and experiential for many thousands of years that we've brought into today. So in both India and in the Kabbalah, there are 4 modes of vibration, 4 modes of sound that we can all access. But usually most people are only accessing the very first mode of vibration, the first mode of sound. In India, this is called Vaikari or Vak, the power of speech or the power of the word. And this has multiple different meanings. It's like a double-edged sword. We can use our words to inspire and enlighten. We can use them to destroy. And often we do this because we're disconnected from the higher modes of frequency, the higher modes of vibration. This is currently what delineates humanity. We have forgotten the knowledge, the wisdom of the higher modes of vibration, and are simply using 1 or 2 of these modes. So this first mode of words and thoughts is are literal words. So what a word literally means. So we see this in the news, in legal jargon, in the way we speak to strangers, in the way we interact a lot of the time on social media. It's like pure data. And we can interpret it just like that. The literal meaning of the word. This means this, because this is what we've been taught it means. And what does it actually mean? So in the sacred languages like Sanskrit, Aramaic and others, there are up to 7 different meanings for each word. There's 99 words for love in Sanskrit, as opposed to I love my hamburger, I love you, I love the sunset. No, there are particular words, refined words, for each of these feelings, for each of these emotions, for each of these expressions. So the power of words is also in this lowest mode of vibration, the uncontrolled babble of your monkey mind. So how our thoughts go off and on and on and on, repeating themselves, babbling away in our mental landscapes, that kind of uncontrolled thinking and thoughts. So in this first mode, we literally are in the 3rd dimension. We're living in a noun-only world. So the noun actually fixes things into place, like a brick in a wall. It objectifies things. Everything becomes static. It's not a moving process like we know our universe to be, like we know ourselves to be. We are ever moving, ever vibrating, ever expanding processes. The universe is expanding, as are we, in every moment of the day. We are consistently changing, even if we aren't conscious of it. This is more the nature of the vibratory sonic universe. This is how reality is. In our experience of it. Now the noun actually fixes us. So as Oscar Wilde said, we're not just nouns, we are verbs, we are processes. We are not just things stuck, static, inert. We are actually in movement. I'm not a writer, I'm writing. I'm not a talker, I'm talking. So the sacred languages and Native American languages very much work on this process of movement. We're always moving. That's the nature of reality. That's the nature of the feminine. That's the nature of the cycles of time. That's the nature of how things operate. That's how nature operates. Things move, things are born, things are die. Yeah. So in the first mode of vibration, we can get stuck in just the literal meanings of words and in the literal meanings of the third dimension. We see a tree. That's it. It's a tree. That's it. It's just a word. We've already detached ourselves from it in that sense. Until we access the higher modes of vibration and start to commune with the tree, start to commune with that person. The person and the tree are no longer an image in our minds. They are actually living, moving energies that we can connect to in higher modes of vibration. So keeping everything static, stuck, inert, through nouns as opposed to verbs, we actually then create a static reality. We are stuck in the third dimension. And this is where most of humanity is at today. We are stuck in the third dimension. We have objectified everything, including people that we know and people that we don't know. Therefore we judge them because they are objects, they are images in our mind. Images that are words, that are made of thoughts, that are based on our own suppositions and conceptions. So in the first mode or vibration, if we stay stuck there without connection to the higher modes of vibration, we create a very matrix reality. So a typical example of a matrix-only day. You get up, you have your genetically modified breakfast, you switch on the news. The news is a perfect example of first mode only, a stream of data, events, information. If you look at the Wall Street FTSE 100 index, the bottom of the screen of most news channels, it's just data, letters and numbers. That's a perfect example of the disconnected first mode, the literal meaning of words rather than the metaphorical meaning or the deeper meaning, or the expanded meaning that actually expands your consciousness. So in this first mode of matrix-only day, you get up, you have your genetically modified breakfast, you watch the news, you get on the train, car, you go to work, you go to an office, you sit in front of a computer screen, you process data, all first mode of vibration. You go and have lunch, come back to work, get back on the train or the car with everyone else in this 9-to-5 rat race, and then you come back home, you're tired, you need to relax, switch on the TV, zone out. Maybe have a bit of time with your partner or children, or if you're alone, you just watch the TV, maybe go out for a drink, go to sleep, and so the cycle repeats again. This is a classic first mode day that most people are living in. And most people are living in. Over 7 billion people are living in this manner. So in the first mode of vibration, we are living by our words and thoughts. And these words and thoughts are not connected to the second mode of vibration or the other higher modes of vibration. So generally what we're saying is dictated by thinking is by our subconscious, because our subconscious dictates our conscious world more than our consciousness does if we haven't done the work to excavate our subconscious or our shadow or our repressed emotions, our beliefs, our thought systems, our conditioning, our ancestral conditioning, what our parents believe, what our peers believe, what we then have taken on to believe ourselves. So all these are obstacles or opportunities, let's say, to actually evolve out of this matrix of the first mode. So in one sense, you could say the first mode, when it's disconnected to the higher modes, creates a very polarized duality reality. Everything is 0 and 1, just like computers work and operate. 0 and 1, on, off, good, bad, dark, light, yes, no. So this, and the reason we have created computers is to, as a direct reflection of this state of polarity or duality consciousness, is because computer code reflects that within us. Part of our brains work like that in this separated state. 0 and 1, that must be good, this must be bad. This instantly dissolves when we realize that what was good for you today is not good for you tomorrow. And what's bad for you today will actually be the best thing for you tomorrow. So these polarities are constantly shifting. These polarities are constantly moving. And this is what quantum computers do. They change and shift polarities. Like nature, it's moving between 0 and 1 consistently in this quantum resonance. And this allows a lot more data information to be processed in this fluid interchange between 0 and 1. However, in Vicarian normal computers today, everything works in 0 and 1, good and bad. So we stay polarized, we stay stuck in duality through our use of language, through our use of words, and through our thoughts that are stuck in this mode, disconnected from our higher modes of vibration. So in this code of 0 and 1 that the first mode of vibration can limit us into, in this 0 and 1, we actually become more polarized, and this creates separation. So then we judge other people, other races, other religions, other castes, other creeds. We create war. All of this is based on duality, and all of this is based on language, and language then creates thought as we think in language, and then these languages create opposition. Now we can use this opposition or this friction in order to evolve, but most people do not use this opposition, this duality, as an ally to evolve. Most of us stay stuck in the duality, in the opposition, in the 0 and 1. So in India we see that the 0 and 1 can actually be used and utilized. In the 0 and 1, and in the fluid interchange between the two, which is when we access nature's laws, or natural resonance, or quantum resonance, when we actually access this fluid interchange, we start to access the higher modes of vibration. So as we move out of the 0 and 1 polarity and start to include them, so instead of being either or, it's either and. So we can embrace the polarities, we can embrace the dualities, we can embrace our thoughts, we can embrace other people. We don't have to judge them, we don't have to see them as right or wrong, we don't have to put ourselves on a pedestal, we don't have to look down at others. We start to access the higher modes of vibration that are not working in this limited cage of our perceptions, in this limited cage of duality. So in the first mode, when we're reading something, we'll just take it literally. We won't look at the deeper meanings behind it, we won't apply it to ourselves, we'll just take it as fact. So most religions operate like this. You will do this, the Lord said that. So then you follow it, and most people follow it in the religions. They will blindly follow it because they're told what to do. It's a form of reward and punishment, 0 and 1. And these systems are still running the world today and running most people. If it's not religion, it's economics. If it's not economics, it's law. If it's not law, it's our cultures themselves, or our parents, or ourselves, operating in this very narrow bandwidth in the first mode. However, the first mode of speech and words and thought connected to that can actually be a huge tool for liberation and for expression and for freedom and for our own emotional fulfillment if we connect to the higher modes of vibration. If we step out of the 0 and 1. Now today on the planet, the matrix we have created through computers, through AI, through 5G, through the new Wi-Fi systems that are 60 megahertz as opposed to the current 2.4 megahertz ones in 2019, and the whole Internet of Everything scenario that is being created, along with the surveillance capitalism that Google and Facebook run on, i.e. we're no longer searching on Google, but Google is searching us in order to make money, just as Facebook is. This is called surveillance capitalism. All these systems that humans have created are based on this 0 and 1. And computers are a way to more rapidly implement the 0 and 1. That's their operating system. So in effect, we have outpictured our own first mode of vibration, the 0 and 1, polarity, into our technology. And now that technology is set to take over and automate all those systems in the 3D. Now, this could be great, and it could not be. We will soon find out. However, I've shared in a previous video about 5G, how these systems work. And all these systems are an outpouring or an outpicturing or an expression of the first mode of vibration. And this can serve us or it can hinder us. It can help us to evolve, or it can actually further limit us. So the ultimate expression of the matrix of the first mode that's disconnected from the higher modes, that's disconnected from the higher modes of vibration, our soulful, expanded consciousness, resonating at higher frequencies, that are not living in duality. When we are disconnected from these higher modes and all that involves, then the obvious and ultimate logical conclusion of that is for us to become that technologically. We become technology. We have chips put into us that can drive our cars, open our doors, open our offices, buy our products in the supermarket. We become that technology, and that cuts us off ultimately from the higher modes. If you have a microchip inside you and those electrical signals are constantly emanating, receiving and transmitting, that will of course interfere with our own electrical systems and our electrical fields, and then obviously our cellular fields and our genetic fields. And that will keep us locked into this first mode of vibration. If we use technology too much, especially if we implant it in our bodies, we will then start to resonate with that. And already we are developing this electronic body through our interactions with our computers and our cell phones too much. If we interact with them too much, we start to develop this electronic, addictive body that becomes part of our electromagnetic field. So it actually becomes part of us. So this is already happening. What is within us in the first mode is already being expressed outwards and then is feeding back to us in this feedback loop. Now, this is already happening everywhere in the world. I travel constantly. I've been to 50 countries. And it doesn't matter where you are, people are glued to their phones all the time. And I'm sure you've all noticed this phenomenon. Now this is set to take a whole nother turn. And I have spoken extensively about this in a previous video about 5G. So it's a very important point that we create what we know. And we're creating more of this matrix or the first mode of vibration. And that can further enslave us, or if we use it right, it can help to liberate us. Again, another polarity. But this is, the third dimension is the nature of polarity. And so the first mode of vibration, when it gets limited to the noun, when it gets limited to technology, when it gets limited to the 0 and 1, without the inspiration, without the emotion, without the deeper consciousness that the higher modes of vibration lend to us and speak through us, then we could possibly be heading as a species into a very dark place. However, in India, the power of the word is seen as a goddess, Saraswati and Brahma. Goddess, the goddess of music, word, sound, and speech, and Brahma is the lord of speech and word. And of course, a word is what created everything, as in the Bible. In the beginning was a word, and the word was God. And then the word, or the sound, created all things. And that sound of the one is within all things. So the one is within all things, this one sound, whatever you choose to call it, Om, Om, Omkar, Shem, whatever it is, in all these different languages, Ain, all these different seed syllables, all denote the power of the one vibrational wave that is moving throughout all things all the time. Everything is vibration. So we can express that, connect to it through sound, through chant, through mantra, through speaking in poetry, through our own deeper words, our own deeper speech. And this is the beauty of the first mode. It connects to all the higher modes when we are connected, when we are clear, to allow that to come through us and express. And in that expression, in that song, in that chant, in that mantra, in that glossalia, singing in tongue, speaking in the sacred languages, speech then becomes a liberating, inspiring, opening power. But we have to be connected to the higher modes of vibration to access that, to allow it to come through the first mode of vibration, the power of speech and words. So, this is the challenge. And I will share more in the next video about the next higher mode of vibration, the second mode of vibration, which is known in Sanskrit as Madhyama, or the interface, the bridge between the 3D world and between the other higher dimensions, the fourth dimension, fifth dimension, and so on. And it is in this mode that a lot of us connect into. And we can use that far more effectively than what we're using it at the moment, if we have the knowledge, the wisdom, and the practices, the ways, the technologies to be able to access that within us. So I will share more in my next video about that. And I wish you happy words, profound words, and thank you for listening. Namaste.